Welcome to the SUNY DLE Brightspace Skilled Webinar Series. Today, you're joining us to talk about accessibility and online pedagogy, specifically related to your digital course materials. These sessions are designed to last an hour and a half. What we see typically is 60 minutes of demonstration. I'll walk through materials, I'll talk about certain topics, etc., for the first 60 minutes. And then you'll have 30 minutes of Q&A, opportunities to ask me questions, etc. If you have questions during the demonstration period, please feel free to post those in the chat. You can indicate with a Q or the word question in all caps, and that helps me because I don't review those questions until the end of the demonstration period, and then it calls to my attention if you have some sort of question or issue there. We have live transcript on, so if you need that, please feel free to click the CC icon on your Zoom toolbar there. And we want to make sure that everybody has a good experience here, so if you could do your best to maintain mute on your microphone, I would appreciate it. If you do have a question that you would prefer to ask verbally as opposed to writing it out in the chat, please hold off on those questions until the 30-minute Q&A period, at which point you can raise your hand in Zoom, or you can post in the chat that you would like to ask a verbal question. This session is being recorded, so I will show you at the end of the session how you can access these videos on the DLE website, and you can access additional videos outside of these scaled webinars as well. With that, I want to take you to I'm sorry, I need to stop my share for just a moment. Sorry about that. So we're going to talk about accessibility and online pedagogy. We'll start with online pedagogy. And as I'm sure you're aware, online pedagogy, there's so much to know about it. Digital pedagogy, if you want to call it that. But what it could take you an entire graduate career to learn everything about it, and then you still wouldn't know everything. And so what I've done is I've kind of titrated it down into 5 major principles that if you pay attention to these things, you're going to have a course that's really well designed and can help you and your students engage with the materials better and then create that sense of community. So the first principle we're going to talk about today is effective course design. And what we see with effective course design, if you can think about it in 3 ways here. First, we want to make sure that we are starting with the end in mind, and then we employ a strategy or a principle called backwards design. We're going to start with those learning objectives that you as faculty members have either created yourself for your course, or you've worked with your chair, or your department has come up with these learning objectives. And those learning objectives were approved by your campus's curriculum committee. So now you start with the information that you want your students to know when they are complete with this class. Then you're going to take a backward step from there, and you're going to pay attention to how you will assess the students' understanding or knowledge of those specific learning outcomes or objectives. So we want to make sure that any assessments we have, if it's a quiz, if it's an assignment, if it's a discussion or a project, etc., that we're mapping those assessments to our learning objectives, and each of our learning objectives are met by one of those assessments. Then we'll take a step even further back in the design of our class, and we're going to establish what kind of learning resources are we going to provide our students in order to support the acquisition of that understanding or the knowledge of our course materials. And if you do this, you'll find that through this backwards design, starting with those objectives, then developing your assessments, and then building your course materials to support your assessments, you have a really concise, cogent course that is going to help your students move from not knowing very much about your course content to being able to demonstrate full understanding of your course content. Part of effective course design in helping our students make that progress from novice to master is making sure that we're laying out our materials in our course in a way that helps our students learn. One of the ways we can do that is by chunking our material. And chunking is actually a cognitive psychology term, which means that we can, as humans and most other animals for that matter, we have limited space in our short-term or working memories, which means that when we're presented with new information, we can only attend to so much before it starts spilling out of that working memory. And that will impede our ability to then encode that into long-term memory. Chunking allows us to break this massive amount of information that we're trying to learn into smaller bite-sized or digestible pieces. You can think of this in terms of telephone numbers. If I asked you to memorize 10 numbers, it might be a little bit challenging for you because most people can only work with about 5 to 7 items in their working memory. But if we chunk those like we do with phone numbers, the area code is 3 digits. The next segment is 3 digits. And finally, we have 4 digits. Instead of memorizing 10 numbers, what we're doing is memorizing 3 chunks of information, which allows us to hold more information in our brains, in our working memory rather, and allows us then to interact or encode that information better into our long-term memory. We're accustomed to seeing chunked material. We do that in our own courses by dividing it up by week or module, etc. We see it in textbooks all the time. They break up this large amount of material into maybe sections and then chapters and subsections of chapters, etc. And what this does is allows us to understand how pieces fit together, allows us to kind of chunk-like materials, and makes it easier for us as human beings to incorporate that information. Making sure that we have consistent layout and navigation in our course can't be kind of underestimated in the impact that it has on the student learning experience. So if we put out our digital course materials for the first module and students come into that and they have a steep learning curve, they have to figure out where we like to put things, what order we like to lay out our modules, etc., where they're going to click, etc. And so they're attending a great deal or spending a lot of their attention on navigating. If we maintain consistency in that layout between week or modules, etc., the next time the student goes into a subsequent folder or subsequent module, they have to spend less time worrying about navigation and their learning curve will be lessened. And then they can focus more on engaging with your course content. So that consistent layout, while sometimes it can be a bit of a hassle, making sure things are in the same order and presented fairly uniformly, what it ends up doing is giving your students more time and more cognitive, like an energy expenditure that they can expend then on your course materials. The next principle we want to talk about is setting high expectations. There's a misconception or a misperception that online learning is somehow inferior or produces poorer learning outcomes than face-to-face classrooms. And we know from tons of research done and shared in peer-reviewed journals that couldn't be further from the truth, that for well-designed and well-instructed courses, the outcomes for online courses are the same, if not better, than face-to-face courses. So what we want to do is make sure we have that in mind as we're developing our course materials to spend the time and energy on designing a course that's going to make it easy for students to engage with our course materials and to navigate our course materials, as well as present lots of opportunities for interaction and for demonstration of understanding of the material. One way you could do that is to put your course materials through what's called the OSCAR rubric. This is the Open SUNY Course Quality Review rubric. And right now, as you're migrating your materials, might not be the best time in terms of how much time you have. But I do encourage you, after you've gotten your course materials into Brightspace, to reach out to your distance learning team on your campus and inquire whether or not the OSCAR rubric might be helpful in you developing your course materials in a way that would make it more effective and more efficient for you as an instructor. In addition to setting high expectations for our courses themselves, we want to make sure that students are aware of the expectations we have of them, letting our students know how often we expect them to log in, what participation or interaction in the online modality might look like, how much time they should be focusing on this particular assignment, or how long it might take them to navigate through these materials, etc. And setting those expectations at the very beginning of your course, either in your syllabus or in your course information documents, it's going to set the students up for success. They understand what they need to do in order to be successful. And just as importantly, we need to set expectations for ourselves as faculty members, letting our students know when we log on typically, like I log on at 8 in the morning, and then I log on probably multiple times throughout the day, but again, definitely just before 5 o'clock, just to make sure there aren't any course communications that I'm missing. Let them know if you don't log in on specific days. Let them know what your expectations of yourself are for participating in discussion forums or in providing them feedback, etc. And then once you establish those expectations, stick to them. Just as we expect our students to stick to the parameters we've set for them, we want to make sure that we're following through with our expectations as well. And then just communicate if maybe you have to attend a conference or you get COVID, if you kind of include the students in on that knowledge, that they will be able to adjust their expectations to meet what you're going to be able to do that particular week. The next principle is about your student learning opportunities. And if we recall the first slide, I was talking about making sure that we're mapping our assessments to our learning objectives. That's where this comes in handy. We want to make sure that each of our assessments has a value that students can perceive that this is going to help them share their understanding with us. And then in turn, they can earn the grade that they would like to end the course with. To do so, we need to make sure we're minimizing high stakes assessments. And what that means is, say, for example, you have a single course and it's a 15-week long semester, and the only assessment opportunity you offer your students is a final exam that's cumulative of all the information they've learned over the past 15 weeks. And they get one shot, 50 questions, that's it. That's a very high stakes assessment. And what you will end up doing is you're going to increase the likelihood that your students are going to engage in academic dishonesty. And what ultimately happens is students have poorer long-term retention of the information you're trying to get them to learn, because they end up learning to pass the test rather than learning the information. How we counter that is by offering a lot of low stakes assessments throughout the duration of the course, which offers your students the opportunities to get formative feedback from you and make any corrections that they might need to in their study habits, in their perceptions maybe of certain concepts, etc. In providing these low stakes assessments, then they have the freedom to make mistakes and know that, yes, I didn't learn this now, but if I study this, I can do better on the next one. I can improve my grade. And that's what it's all about, right? It's the learning process. How do I study for this? How do I, what's the most effective method, et cetera? Do I need some extra help? And providing students with these opportunities will end up not only helping them improve their scores, but also improve their long-term retention of the information. To facilitate that with our student learning opportunities, we want to make sure that we're providing clear instructions so that students understand how to be successful with our learning opportunities. That's achieved through providing clear instructions, but also rubrics so that they understand what criteria we're looking for and what the levels of achievement are for those particular criteria. And finally, consider providing exemplars for success. And that doesn't necessarily just mean the best paper you've ever seen. It might also mean providing exemplars of, this is satisfactory work. This will get you a solid B and maybe even an A. This is work that would be less than satisfactory, et cetera. So students can see what their effort, what they produce, how that might measure up against other items and or other exemplars. And this will help them meet those expectations a little bit better. The next principle I want to talk to you about today is regular and substantive interaction, otherwise known as RSI. This is a new requirement for online programs here in the United States. And what it is basically is it's how we can demonstrate through various means that faculty members are providing their students with opportunities to connect with the faculty member and with their other students. So essentially you want to develop a communication plan, letting students know, when do you post your announcements? When do you respond to emails? If you post in the activity feed, I'm going to respond to you, right? If a student asks a question, you're going to answer it. And this is what we want. You want a minimum of at least 2 forms of substantive interaction. So your weekly announcements, if you send them out every Monday morning at 9 a.m. and you always hold a review session 3 days before the exam, or you always hold your office hours at this specific time and you are there, you're present, etc. That is what counts as substantive interaction. If you have any questions about what constitutes substantive interaction, I encourage you to Google Empire State College and then RSI, or regular and substantive interaction. They have a great page that really details out what it is in your practice, what constitutes RSI, and how you can maybe improve upon that or other things that you might consider. Most important about RSI is that it's primarily instructor initiated, which means that you're not waiting for students to come to you with problems. You're reaching out to students to let them know that you're there, that they're not submitting work out into a void and getting some sort of grade back, that you're engaged and you're there to help them succeed. And that communication from you can be scheduled and predictable. So they know that, hey, I haven't heard from my faculty member, it's Saturday, but I also know that they don't respond to emails on Saturday. I'm sure I'm going to get something on Sunday. And I'm going to know about what's upcoming because she always posts on Monday morning at 9 a.m. that announcement. And we want to talk about the last principle here, which if you were to ask students in both face-to-face classes and online classes, what their biggest complaint about the course would be is that they don't receive prompt and meaningful feedback. And so we want to make sure that as part of our expectations that we're communicating to our students, it's that we're communicating what students can anticipate in terms of when is my faculty member going to grade this paper? When are they going to be in the discussion forum? When can I anticipate a grade on my exam, etc. You let them know, like, hey, your posts are due on Thursday, which means I tend to go in on Friday and engage in the conversation there. And then when your peer replies are due on Sunday, I'll have those graded within 3 days. So I typically have them by the Wednesday, which is a day before your next discussion post is due. So just letting students know when they can anticipate it reduces their anxiety, reduces the questions you're going to get in email about whether or not you're going to give them feedback, etc. Above and beyond setting those expectations and sticking to them, we want to make sure that that feedback that we're providing to our students is meaningful, it's helpful to them. And so you want to keep these 2 words in mind: actionable and personal. Actionable means we're providing them with formative feedback so that if they submit a paper and they're not using APA format correctly, they're using MLA instead. Formative, actionable feedback is saying, hey, listen, these papers are required to be done in APA format. If you have any questions about APA format, here's a link to the Purdue OWL site, and you can learn more about APA. Or you tend to write in passive voice a lot. It's really important that in this type of paper, you're using the active voice, and then maybe provide them with some links to how they can correct that type of writing, etc. So that is actionable. For their next submission, they can make changes that will help them improve the quality of not only their performance, but their end grade. And finally, you want to make sure that it's personal. If you were a student, you were submitting something you'd spent a lot of time on, a lot of energy on, you would want to hear back from your professor that they had indeed read it. And you can achieve this by using the inline grading tools here within Brightspace, providing commentary directly onto the paper or in the discussions themselves. You can also, highlight something that you read in either their post or their discussion or the essay or the project, etc., and make a comment in the feedback just to let them know that you have indeed read their work. That brings us to the end of our online pedagogy discussion. Next, we're going to dive into accessibility, some information about why it is that we as faculty members should spend some time and energy making our courses more inclusive, more accessible to our students. And it helps for us to understand why that's important. So I tend to start this with accessibility by the numbers. As you can see here, according to the CDC, about 25% of the adults in the United States have some type of diagnosable disability. That's a lot of our population. When you think about 19% of our undergraduates disclosing to our campuses that they have some form of diagnosable disability, we see that there's a discrepancy there in those numbers. If we have 1 in 4 adults in general who have some sort of disability, but only 19% are disclosing that to campuses, that means there are some students who are not disclosing their disability to their campuses for whatever reason they so choose. But that means that those students might not be getting the support they need, which means it's really important for us as faculty members to do our best to meet the needs of those students who are not disclosing, as well as the students who are disclosing a disability. We need to understand what accessibility is, and that is the extent to which information can be perceived by everyone with or without the use of assistive technology. And legally speaking, what accessibility means is individuals with disabilities are able to independently acquire the same information, engage in the same interactions, and enjoy the same services within the same time frame as non-disabled students, with substantially equivalent ease of use. And that's a very important part of this statement. It has to be substantially equivalent ease of use. We can't put undue burden on students who already have barriers to their learning. We need to make sure that they have equal access, or equitable access rather. Not only is accessibility a legal requirement, as you can see here through the American Disabilities Act, as well as the WCAG guidelines, the need for accessibility and the expectation of it has increased since the pandemic moved so much of our content into the digital realm a couple of years ago. So students who were not typically or may not typically have been engaging with digital content were forced, just as we as faculty were forced into the online modality. And so that raised a whole bunch of red flags in terms of needing to provide access to students. We need to understand the difference between accessibility and accommodation. Accommodation means that there is some aspect of a system, our course materials, a website, etc., that has been adapted or modified to meet the needs of a specific individual or group. These accommodations are patches, they're fixes, they're band-aids that are applied retroactively to help navigate barriers in the environment or your learning management system, etc. This is the framework that you're probably most familiar with. Accessibility, on the other hand, signifies the degree to which products and digital course materials, etc., can be used effectively by all people, regardless of ability. This is accomplished, this accessibility here is accomplished through developing, designing, purchasing, or implementing supporting systems or technology that provide that equivalent user experience for everybody. That being said, even the best, most accessible, most inclusive digital materials, there might always be a need for accommodation. So if there is a need for remediation, though, if you've got a well-designed and very inclusive and accessible course, the need for accommodations will be minimized. And so therefore you can probably meet that accommodation in a faster time period. So we're going to work on developing that or using that inclusive design so we can minimize the barriers for everybody. I use this picture to talk about inclusive design, and I want to show you this slide or the image on the left of this red and yellow and blue playground set. it's technically accessible. It's marketed as accessible. And what makes it quote unquote accessible is that there's a platform in the lower portion here, just below these 3 stairs, so that an individual with mobility issues can be rolled up to or walked up to this particular platform, which means the individual with a disability can engage with the playset. But they can't access the rest of the stairs. They can't use the majority of the toys or the components of this playset. What you see on the right-hand image is that this is a playset that has been designed with inclusion in mind, so that every single aspect of this playground can be accessed by individuals regardless of ability. So all of the elevated platforms, et cetera, are accessible by ramp. The majority of toys or elements on this can be accessed regardless of physical ability. If one particular element can't be accessed, there's an equivalent for those with mobility issues to access. Swings, teeter-totters, slides, etc. All individuals with all abilities can play on this playset. So someone with a disability and someone without a disability can enjoy this playground from the start. And that's what we mean by building things inclusively. So if you start with those accessibility needs in mind, you don't need to do as many accommodations or fixes. Everybody can participate. It's a benefit to everyone. Next, I'm going to describe some of the most common disabilities that you'll encounter with your digital course materials. And the lists are not meant to be inclusive. They're just the most common ones that we tend to see here in higher education. But before I do that, I just want to let you know that access can become a barrier for anyone at any time. You might have surgery in the middle of the semester, which might impede your ability to, type. Maybe you need to have one of those ganglionic cysts removed, right? So you won't be able to type with your left hand for about 3 or 4 weeks. That's a barrier. People can be born with disabilities, they can acquire a disability, or be in situations that create functional limitations that are going to interfere with their ability to interact with digital course materials. And these disabilities can be visible or invisible. Additionally, there can be comorbidities, which means that students or individuals can have multiple disabilities at one time. So we need to reframe our thinking about the inclusivity of our course materials, because it's not just about individuals with documented disabilities. It's about individuals who might not understand that their functional limitation is creating that barrier to their learning. We saw this a lot in the pandemic, where students didn't either have a computer at home. They didn't have an individual computer. Maybe they had to share it with other kids in their home or other students in their home. Maybe they didn't have any privacy. Maybe they were taking their class in order to get privacy in their restroom, and they didn't want to share their screen. That's a functional limitation that we need to be aware of then. And so we can create our course content, we can set our expectations in a way that's inclusive of even some of those functional limitations. The first group of disabilities I'm going to talk about today are cognitive disabilities. I'll run through for each of the next 3 slides, including this 4th one. I'll talk about the common disabilities we might see, some of the common constraints associated with those disabilities, as well as some potential solutions that we can as faculty members, our campus can, or the Brightspace learning environment can employ to help minimize barriers for everybody. So the most common cognitive disabilities, and by the way, those can occur at birth or develop later in life. They can manifest progressively or very suddenly. The common conditions that you might see are attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, traumatic brain injury or TBI, etc. And what we see with a lot of these cognitive disabilities are challenges to the individual's ability to focus for extended periods of time. So they might struggle to watch a video that's longer than about 5 minutes. They might struggle with really long documents. They might not be able to even focus for more than a paragraph at a time. So we need to be aware of that. Impulsivity is another challenge or constraint with individuals with cognitive disabilities. They might post without thinking in a discussion forum, without really thinking through the impact that this might have on another student in that discussion forum. They might make poor decisions in terms of their time management, etc. Then we have other individuals like with dysgraphia, dyscalculia, dyslexia, where the perceptual system in their brains is not working appropriately. So they can sense the letters or the symbols that they're reading, but their ability to translate that into a number or a word or a paragraph, et cetera, is impaired. And so we need to be aware that everyone's not necessarily looking at the same information and interpreting it the right way. And finally, learning and remembering new information. This is particularly problematic for individuals with traumatic brain injury that can sometimes cause issues with either your ability to hold items in your working memory, to encode into your long-term memory, or to pull that information out and retrieve that information out in an appropriate way at the appropriate time. So what are some solutions? First, there is a text reader that's built right into Brightspace. And when your student has a page open, they can actually click on it. And it's going to pull up a text reader that will highlight about 2 or 3 sentences at a time of the text on a page, and will pull forward the word that it's reading at that time. This really does help for individuals with attention span and concentration challenges, as well as those with sensory processing challenges. There are other systems that can be provided by your campus. So if a student inquires about, getting some support, you should absolutely feel free to direct them to your accessibility resources office on campus, and they can ensure that the student has the proper software and hardware that will provide them with the support they need. There are some design considerations that you can employ when you are designing your course materials. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. And finally, Brightspace has design considerations that help students to set their preferences for how a page will display, how which font is displaying, which type of what font size is displaying, et cetera, how videos render. And so they can set those at the global level within Brightspace, which allows them to interact in a way that makes more sense and works better for them. And finally, Brightspace has actually developed an excellent way for us as faculty to provide those accommodations or that special access for students who need extra time or other accommodations for their gradable activities. For the sensory disabilities, what we see in regards to disabilities that create barriers for interacting with digital course materials are moderate to profound vision loss. And what we see with that is a loss of what's called visual acuity. And these individuals who have this moderate to profound vision loss, they require assistive tools that will help augment their vision through either the magnification or the adjustment of the contrast between text and background colors. For individuals with profound or total vision loss, they will be unable to see your course content as it's displayed, and they tend to be unable to use the mouse in order to point at specific areas of the screen. They often, however, they can learn to touch type. So that's an advantage for them. For individuals with partial to total hearing loss, they have an inability or sometimes an inability to interpret what someone's saying because they can't hear it, or their mouth is not visible if they're a lip reader, etc. So this can present a barrier to them hearing a synchronous lecture, to listening to audio or a video. And so what we as faculty can do is make sure that for any media that we're adding to our class, that we provide alt text, ensure that there's a transcript and or captioning, etc. And then we can have the students work with the Accessibility Resources Office to provide them with the hardware and software that they need in order to engage with this digital content. The next set of disabilities is one that's not frequently talked about, and that is a mental health disability. These are typically invisible disabilities that tend to come with a lot of, stigma. Mental health disorders can present really unique challenges for students. We see common disabilities, mental health disabilities with anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, etc. And these diagnosis numbers for all of these disorders that I've just mentioned are on the rise in the United States. And as part of an inclusive classroom, we need to be sensitive to the needs of these students, many of whom are going to decline to identify either to their campus or to you as their faculty member for whatever reason they might have, but often because those disabilities tend to come with a lot of stigma. What we see in terms of constraints for these individuals is that, particularly for anxiety or PTSD, they have performance or test anxiety, so that they might understand the material but be incapable of expressing that understanding because they're overwhelmed with the anxiety about taking the actual test. They might struggle with impulse control and might also have some challenges to their ability to focus for extended periods of time. So while there aren't as many options for kind of technical solutions here, what we as faculty members can do is create a welcoming environment with lots of opportunities for us to establish lines of communication between students and ourselves and between students and one another. That might include office hours, email, ungraded discussion forums, using the activity feed in Brightspace, individual meetings, etc., so that your students know that you're there to support them. Giving students choice and options for assignments. So maybe you have a student who has severe PTSD and their test performance on a multiple choice exam does not reflect accurately their learning. So is there a way that we can assess their understanding of that material and assess whether or not they've achieved the learning objectives through a different type of assessment, a paper, a project, a conversation with us, etc. We're not making it so they don't have to do an assignment. We just are providing them with another way to express their knowledge. Ultimately, it's about displaying empathy. It's about being flexible, about providing our students with the sense that we're not just here to give them a grade. We're there to help them engage with the course materials, and we're there to support their journey from a novice to expert in this course material. The next disability I want to talk to you about is physical disabilities. And as I'm sure you're aware, fingers and hands are necessary to operate both the keyboard and mouse. These are the technologies that are most widely used for navigating and operating the computer interface or any other device that students are engaging with digital content. So a fine motor skill challenge, if you have some sort of loss of dexterity, this can happen progressively with diseases like arthritis or multiple sclerosis or ALS, etc., or suddenly such as due to an injury. Maybe a student falls and they catch themselves with both hands and break both of their wrists. That's going to present them with some fine motor constraints. They won't be able to type, they won't be able to use the mouse, etc. Otherwise, we might see gross motor challenges that are associated more with those demyelinating disorders I just listed off with MS and ALS, et cetera. But then they lose the ability to use the keyboard and or the mouse, which again presents a barrier to them accessing the materials. The solutions to these constraints are mostly outside of a faculty member's control. But if a student indicates, hey, I fell and broke my wrist this weekend, you can encourage them to reach out to your Accessibility Resources Office, and your Accessibility Resources Office can work with them to get what's called a switch access device, or to work with somebody who can help type for them, etc. These switch access devices, I have a list of them here, and that helps a student or an individual interact with the screen. The great thing is Brightspace has systems in place, and the way their interface works, it actually works almost seamlessly with these switch access devices, which makes it easier for them to target a button or an area where they need to kind of do voice activated what's the word I'm looking for? Voice to text. That's what I'm looking for, like voice to text, etc. It makes it easier for them to navigate. And I've been really pleased with the accessibility solutions that Brightspace has for our students. So now that we know why accessibility is important, let's think about or learn about some ways that we as faculty members can design or develop our course materials to be more inclusive. It can seem very overwhelming. I teach as well. I've been teaching online since, well, for almost 20 years. And when I look back at all the materials that I have, the idea of making all of those materials accessible can be overwhelming. So if you can just look at these 5 accessibility principles that I'm going to demonstrate to you in the next couple of minutes and commit to saying, yes, going forward, all of my materials, I'm going to use these 5 principles, and then maybe commit to one item at a semester working on it. So maybe go back and look through all of your PowerPoints and make sure that all of the images have alt text. And maybe the next semester, make sure that all of the videos that you've brought into your various materials have closed captioning, etc. So you don't need to do all of it at once, but just slowly over time, make sure that you are bringing your old materials up into compliance, and then commit to, from this point forward, making your content inclusive. The first principle is identifying content types. And what this is essentially doing is helping using a tool within any word processing program. By the way, this can be found in Word, it can be found in Google Docs, it's found in Brightspace. And it's a way for you to identify and kind of communicate relative levels of importance based on what type of heading you select for that text. So you would think of this like you're creating that outline for your high school or your college paper. That's where you have a Roman numeral, and then you have an A, a B with a 1, 2 below it, etc. So that you know, like, this is the most important level, this is the next important level, the third important level, etc. So identifying content types really helps not only with accessibility, but it helps your individuals, your students without disabilities, to look at the page and it makes a lot of sense. It works with the way that humans read digital materials. But what it really does is it allows individuals using a screen reader to understand. It will read out the text. It will indicate that it's an H1, or that's the main heading. And then the next time it comes across another heading, it will indicate it's an H2, which means it's less important, but still important. And then individuals with the screen readers can actually tab between headers, which allows them to navigate more quickly when you have a lot of material on your page. I'm going to show you the text identifying content types tool within Brightspace at the end of this here today. We also want to make sure that we're providing text equivalents. And what that means is when we're adding an image, we're either indicating with alternative text what that image is and what students who are not sighted need to understand about that image, or we can indicate that the image is decorative. We need to provide transcripts or captions to any audio or video media that we're adding to our classes, so that students who either can't hear or see get the same information that our students without disabilities get. So if you're bringing in videos, you need to make sure that they have closed captions. If they don't, you need to find videos elsewhere. If you've created videos that aren't captioned, reach out to your distance learning team on your campus and ask them what their process is for ensuring that videos are captioned. Every campus will have a process. Next, we want to make sure that we're using color carefully. Color absolutely impacts readability. Color consists of hue, which is what we think of as red, purple, or green, the intensity or how vibrant that color is, and the tone, which is how dark or light that color is. And all of these factors impact how an individual looking at digital course material can perceive that information. So we want to make sure that we're not relying on color alone to communicate something. So for example, if you have the word syllabus in bright red so that it pops off the page, an individual with color blindness won't see that red syllabus word. What they'll see is gray, because they see red and green as tones of gray, depending on, the tone of that particular, that red or green. So we need to make sure then, in addition to the color, we're maybe putting in some asterisks, or maybe the word important before it, or underlining and exclamation points, or putting it in bold so that it stands out for students with a screen reader, as well as for individuals who have color blindness. We also want to make sure that we're using high color contrast. And so that means that in terms of this slide, I have black font against a white background, and that has a really great contrast between the text and the background. It makes it easier for us to read. If I were to choose this periwinkle color, on the other hand, for the text on this white background, that's going to produce a lot of challenges for students to read that text. And finally, we want to make sure that we're avoiding the use or limiting the use of vibrant colors. So vibrant colors would be any of these things between this green and this red. They're very bright. That will cause retinal strain, which can lead to headaches. It can cause, eye fatigue, and it's very draining to continue to look at content with a lot of these colors. So if you are going to use them for emphasis, and only use them in moderation. Next, we want to make sure that when we're providing a URL to our students in a document or on a page, etc., that we're using descriptive links. We want to avoid just posting the link itself, because a screen reader is going to read this link here as https://dle.suny.edu/. And if you can imagine some of those really long Zoom links or other external links that are, sometimes 2 or 3 lines long, listening to the screen reader read that would be not the best. So what we can do instead is we can embed the link behind descriptive text, so that the screen reader, when it sees this link to SUNY DLE website, and it's going to let the individual using the screen reader know where the link is going to take them. In addition, what happens with a screen reader is all of the links, you can tab between all of them. And if you don't provide descriptive text, students don't know what that link is for. So if you just have link or click here, click here, click here, you have 3 links all with the same text, and students don't understand if those are 3 different links or if they're the same 3 links. So you want to make sure that whatever text you're putting on top is adequate enough to let students know where that link is going to take them. And finally, we want to make sure that we're using clear language. We want to use plain, clear language so that we can communicate to our audience and help them understand the things the first time they see or hear them. So this includes text directions, assignment instructions, your syllabus, your announcements, your activity feed post, etc. We want to write these at the lower secondary or middle school level. And that sometimes causes people a little bit of alarm, but I just want to raise your awareness that that doesn't necessarily mean that all of our content in our online courses has to be written at the middle school level. Only our communications or instructions should be written at that level. And even the Wall Street Journal is written at the middle school level. So just as an FYI, it's written in that way to increase understanding. If it's for instructions, it's done to increase your compliance. Ultimately, it's going to save you time if you write in this clear and concise middle school level way, because you're going to get fewer questions. Your students understand more of what you're seeking, and then they'll have fewer questions for you. We also want to make sure that we limit our jargon. So if you have a complex course, like earlier on the slide, I used the word DLE, but I didn't describe that. That's jargon. I know what DLE means, but I'm not sure that you do. So anytime you use jargon, make sure that you're defining that. There's a tool within Brightspace called the glossary that allows you to create a kind of a lexicon of those terms. So DLE means digital learning environment. LMS means learning management system. So consider using that tool so that if a student comes across something, they're like, I have no idea what this acronym means or what this term means, they might be able to go to that glossary and learn. If your class has specialized terminology, you can also make sure that the first time you kind of expose them to that terminology, that you're defining it or taking them to a resource where they can learn more about that terminology. And finally, you want to avoid using idioms, colloquialisms, neologisms, etc. Mostly for individuals who are non-native English speakers, those types of speech tend not to have direct translations into another language. So if you were to say a stitch in time saves 9, and translating that into another language might be confusing to someone. So we want to make sure that we're speaking in really plain terms to make sure that individuals who are using a second language, which is their English, have a better time understanding what it is we're trying to communicate. So that brings me to the end of my PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to stop just a moment. And I'm going to bring up Brightspace so that I can show you some of the tools that we use within Brightspace that are available in the system itself that will help us make our content more inclusive. So let me share my screen again. I'm going to, sorry, I have to move some things around. I'm going to log in here. Oh, it's slow today. And I'm going to come to my training course. And I just want to show you some examples of those 5 principles that we talked about for accessibility. The first thing is going to be that students and faculty members can make global adjustments to their Brightspace account so that they can optimize the way that the reading content is displayed, the way the font is displayed, etc. I cover this more in the user interface section, but just know that they can make those global adjustments and therefore Brightspace will be more friendly to them, meet their needs. Next, in terms of us as faculty members providing accommodations to students, if a student at the beginning of the semester hands you their accommodation letter and it indicates they need time and a half on their exams, you can come here to the roster, or it might be called class list on your nav bar up here. And you can set an accommodation for a student at the that lasts for the whole semester. So hang on just a second, I want to delete this. So say Jane comes to you with that letter, you can go into your roster, click on the chevron right next to Jane's name and do edit accommodations. This allows me to indicate that for any quiz, any test, etc., within Brightspace in this course, it will modify the quiz for me for that student. So I can click, I need to multiply this by 1.5 times. And so if you have a quiz that's going to give them 10 minutes, they'll get 15 minutes. If it's a 30-minute test, it's going to give them 45 minutes. And then you don't have to go into every single quiz and add that accommodation. This is going to be a time saver for me as a faculty member. I was very excited when I saw this. Also, if you have a student who needs to have always allow right click, you can set that control right here. So I'm going to click save. And now you'll see, give it a moment. Sometimes it takes a moment. Yes, continue, please. That Jane has an accommodation. And if you needed to go back in and edit it, you absolutely could. Now for every single quiz, she has that accommodation set. There are also ways to set that special access within each gradable activity and assignments and quizzes, etc. And I cover those in the gradable activities scaled webinar. The next thing I want to talk to you about as far as tools in Brightspace is what it looks like when you create a page and use your headings or your content identifiers appropriately. So you can see here on this page, and this line, it's actually easier if I come into the edit, sorry, because I want to show you what that looks like here. I've created this page here in Brightspace, and when I click on it, you'll see up here that this tool is indicating this is a heading 1. So a student using a screen reader will hear H1, and then it will read the title. So they know that it's the main point of this page. And then as you scroll down and you click into this subheading, you'll see that this is a heading 3. This is a subheading 1, so this is heading 2. So in terms of that outline, the Roman numeral 1 would be this. The capital A would be the subheading, and the Arabic numeral 1 would be this subheading, etc. So you can see how you're creating this order for students using screen readers, but also you're setting this information apart for individuals who can see this page. The way that human beings read digital content is they typically default to what's called the F pattern. So they scan across the top of the page, and then they look for other information to guide their attention by looking across the middle. So they would see this title, they would see this subheading, and then what they do is they finish the F shape by looking down the side. And so then they scan, looking for subheadings, looking for lists, etc. And this will then help the user engage more with your content, by the way. So using this serves multiple purposes. The next accessibility feature within creating content here in Brightspace is we can make sure that our contrast is appropriate. So say I wanted to change the color of the subheading, which is an H2, by the way. I want to change the color of that text. And I really want it to be this light pink color. So I choose it. What happens when I select that color is Brightspace indicates with this X that there is insufficient contrast between the text color and the background. So Brightspace is helping us meet that one principle of using color appropriately. So I have an option. I can choose another darker color here, or I can drag the scale over until it meets both of these and indicates, yes, that is sufficient contrast. I'm going to make an intentional mistake here really quickly and click Save. To show you, like, trying to read this word subheading against this white background is really challenging. So if you imagine if somebody has some moderate vision loss, they're not going to be able to read that at all. Other options we have here are when you insert a content link. So say, for example, I want to type in a link to the DLE website. And I want to say, I'm going to insert a content link, or I'm sorry, a quick link here. And I want to add in a URL. What you'll notice is it prompts you to do what we encourage you to do, right? Is to provide descriptive text that embeds the URL behind that. So you would put in the URL here, which is the DLE website. And here would be the link to the DLE, SUNY DLE website. I can insert it there. And now, because Brightspace has helped me with this, it prompts me to do my URLs in an accessible format. Also, when you're adding in images, so I'm going to add in an image down here. And I go into this rich text editor in more depth, by the way. I'm just going to add the image up here. When we're doing the authoring content scaled webinar, just as an FYI. So please don't expect that you're going to know how to do this just by watching this now. But I want to add an image here, and I can browse for an image. And I'm going to drag this balance one in here. I can click add, and it prompts me to provide alternative text. So if there was anything in this image that I needed students to know, maybe it has a pie chart, or maybe it has a word cloud with words that students need to identify, I could provide that alternative text right here. In this case, it's a decorative image. So clicking this allows individuals with a screen reader, it literally just skips right over that decorative image, saving them time. I click OK. And here my image is located within this page. It's really large, but I'm not going to do the edit right now. The next feature I want to show you is we have equation editors, and some of these are more accessible than others, and I cannot speak to which of these works better. I am not an expert in any of the STEM fields that utilize these often, but I'm sure in conversations with your chemistry or your math or physics peers, you've all determined which of these tools work well. I've heard people are very excited about LaTeX. So anyway. And finally, within Brightspace, there's an accessibility checker. If I click on this, it's going to identify that there are two errors. The first is that this large text has to have a contrast ratio of at least 3:1. So I'm going to come back out here. I'm going to select that text and change the color into something that's readable. This indicates that there's sufficient contrast regardless of size of text here, and I click Save. So I again click on this accessibility checker, and now I have only one image. So I must have added an image elsewhere that I didn't add decorative text in this training. So I can either provide alternative text or I can mark it as decorative and click Repair. It will highlight in pink right here that this is the image that there's an issue with. I'll click Repair, click OK. And now I can be relatively sure that I've minimized any accessibility issues on this particular page. This accessibility checker that's built in is limited. It really only looks at contrast and alt text. If your campus has access to Ally, that's a full accessibility checker. And I'll show you what that looks like here. The full accessibility checker is going to look not just at what the contrast is or the alt text. It's going to look at headings. It's going to look at contrast, etc. And you'll get this little icon that lets you know what your accessibility score is for this particular element. So in this terms, my score for this module introduction is perfect. It's high for this create a page. And the reason I have an issue with this one is if I click on this, it will tell me that the HTML does not have a language set, and there's nothing I can do to fix that, by the way. But that's still really high and is acceptable. If you see yellow or orange, and definitely if you see red in terms of these Ally scores, you're going to want to make some remedies. And if you can't fix it, you can reach out to your distance learning team or your accessibility resources office, and they can help you. It will also, Ally also takes a peek at files that you've uploaded. So you can see I've added a PowerPoint here, and it's telling me my score is high, that I have an issue. There is text in there with insufficient contrast, and I cannot fix that issue. I have tried it. I can't. So anyway, I should probably just remove that section and try again. But anyway. All right, so that is what we've got within Brightspace to help us meet those 5 accessibility principles that we talked about. It's mostly built in. You don't even have to really think about it. It's going to prompt you to do a lot of these things, and that will help us create a more inclusive classroom for our students. So with that, I'm going to stop my share, and I'm going to grab the attendance link for this particular session. And I'm going to paste that into the chat. And I see there aren't any questions. So what I'm going to do next is click on this link. And I'm going to show you how to get logged in, or how to mark this as in attendance here within Brightspace here, or within Events Air. So when you click on that link, it's going to take you to a page where you have to log in using your SUNY sign-in. You click on the SUNY sign-in page, and it's going to ask you which campus you're from. You indicate your campus, it's going to take you to a login page, and that's where you use your campus username and password. So whichever username and password you use to log into your media station on campus or your campus computer, etc., that's going to bring you to this page where you can indicate that you were in attendance here at this accessibility webinar. Click submit and you're all set. The next item I want to show you is the DLE website. And this is where you can find all of the resources that you might need in order to prepare for your upcoming semester. On this page, if you go to the trainings tab, you can click on the recordings link. I'm logged in, so I want to log out just to show you what that's going to look like. When you try to click on this training and recordings page, it's going to indicate that this is private content, and it is. All of these recordings are behind authentication, which is going to require you to log in using your SUNY federated login, which is again just another term for your campus username and login. So you click this button, it's going to prompt you to select your campus. It will then bring you to another page where you're going to use those campus credentials again, that username and password that gets you into your campus computer. It will bring you out to the main page of this, and you click into recordings again, where you will have access to all of the recordings we have available here. That includes the fundamentals workshop, where you can see days 1 through 4, and you can watch these. They're about 2 hours each. We have the Otter Institute, which just ran last week, where we covered more advanced topics that we are not able to squeeze into this fundamentals workshop. So, click through here and see if there's maybe something else that you want to learn about. And finally, to the scaled webinars, where you can see the 7 scaled webinars we offer, and you could watch them again. So if you want to learn more about accessibility, if you want to learn more about the user interface, you can watch those there. Any questions about accessibility or online pedagogy? If not, I'm done with my prepared remarks, and I can let everybody go early. Can we have the PowerPoint shared? You are, out of how many hundreds of people I've shown this to, you're the first person that has asked that. And yeah, I can do that. When I share it, it's going to be on this DLE website. It'll be, we have another link that's going to open soon, and I will provide the PowerPoint there. Good. Great question. Anybody else? Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time and attendance today. I hope to see you at upcoming sessions. Be on the lookout for communications about upcoming sessions on advanced Brightspace topics. We're going to begin those in September, and they're called Illuminations. And it's really to talk about those higher end tools within Brightspace that end up making your life as an instructor much easier. There are lots of efficiencies that we can build into Brightspace that do those things for you, make your job really, really, I can't wait to start using some of these tools. So be on the lookout for those, and I will hopefully see you all soon. Take care. Thanks.